Welcome to the Farm to School podcast, where you will hear stories of how youth thrive and farmers prosper when we learn how to grow, cook, and eat delicious, nutritious local foods in schools across the country.
And the world. Hey, everybody. We're your hosts. My name's Rick.
And this is Michelle. And we are super excited today because we are talking about farm to school lunch across America with our special guests, Spence and Christy. Hey, team.
All right, so we're here with Spence Medford and Christy Sherding with the Henry Ford. And first of all, let me just say, Spence, you have a very Oregon name. We're recording this from Oregon, our end. I don't know where you are right now, but Medford is a very, we have a big town in Oregon called Medford.
And it's a farm to school hotspot.
It is. So Spence, we'll start with you. Where are you located at? And tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, Rick, Michelle, it's an honor to be here. I'm Spence Medford, the Senior Vice President and Chief Advancement Officer of the Henry Ford. I'm broadcasting from my office in the Clock Tower at Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation in Dearborn, Michigan, right outside of Detroit. Interestingly enough, yes, my last name is Medford. I knew about Medford, Oregon, and there's also a Medford, Massachusetts, I believe, and I have not visited either city, but I do want to sometime on this journey.
Yes.
They'll probably give you the keys to the city if you show up. I'm just saying.
I lived in Medford. That's where Tufts University is. My address was Medford, Massachusetts.
Okay. Well, Christy, how about you?
Hi, Rick, Michelle. Such a pleasure to be on with you guys today. Thank you for inviting Spence and I to join. My name, as you mentioned, Christy Sherding. I am our Director of Donor Relations and Engagement at the Henry Ford, and I wear many hats. And one of the other hats I wear is I oversee our Edible Education Initiative, under which our Farm to School Lunch Across America program, which we are here to talk about today, is a program with. So I can't wait to share more with you guys.
Okay. Well, the first question maybe a lot of our listeners have is right away, like, what is the Henry Ford? Now, we know probably everyone, if you ask them what Henry Ford means to them, they're going to go, oh, yeah, he was the guy that was behind the Ford automobile, right? The Ford, but when you say the Henry Ford, maybe people might not know what that is. So what does that entail?
That's a question that we get every day. It's a very good question. So maybe I should start and tell you who we're not. So the Henry Ford is not Ford. It's not Ford Motor Company. We share the same founder, Henry Ford. We were founded as a school in 1929. So the Henry Ford, and again, we're not the Ford Foundation. We're not Ford Motor Company. The Henry Ford is the umbrella organization. Henry originally founded us as the Edison Institute, as a school, and that's still, as a nonprofit, we're the Edison Institute doing business as the Henry Ford. So our umbrella organization has 5 unique venues. So we have Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation, which is a 12-acre museum focused on some of the most iconic stories of American innovation in our history. We have 26 million artifacts in our collection.
Wow.
We collect in 6 thematic areas, including agriculture and the environment. We have a Greenfield Village, which is our outdoor history complex, where we have 82 historic structures that were moved from all over the country to our campus. So we have, for example, the Wright Brothers Cycle Shop. We have Thomas Edison's Menlo Park Laboratory that was moved here from New Jersey.
Oh, my gosh.
We also have 4 working farms. We have Harvey Firestone's family farm that was moved here.
Oh my
we
gosh.
have real merino sheep. We grow crops. And Henry founded this institution really as a place for hands-on learning. So, education really is at our root. And we have a research center, Benson Ford Research Center. We run the educational tour for the Ford Rouge factory where the Ford F-150 is made. And we have a charter high school on our campus, Henry Ford Academy, now in its 28th year. So we cover 250 acres, but we're a nonprofit. It's a big operation, and so anything that we do that is I call it the force, the work that we do to impact and being a force for good to impact the community, like a program like Farm to School Lunch Across America. We have to raise dollars for that.
Okay, and it sounds like
we would love to have you come visit our campus.
Well, I would love to do that too. It sounds like you were saying it's almost like a museum. You said a display of innovations, right?
Well, we are a museum complex, right? So we have 26 million artifacts in our collection, everything from the Rosa Parks bus and Kennedy limousine, the Abraham Lincoln chair, we have Bucky Fuller's Dymaxion house.
Whoa.
But then we have, 4 working farms on our campus. So it takes several days to really explore and experience the Henry Ford.
Well, and as a museum and a living education laboratory and a working farm, like you are Farm to School.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, Michelle. One of the things that our one of our close advisors, I'd say founding advisor on our kitchen cabinet, Alice Waters, and I've talked about this, that when you think about Greenfield Village itself, our 95 acres in Greenfield Village and our working farms, we have the ultimate edible schoolyard. Where else can you take a chemistry class and on a farm that has history connected to Harvey Firestone, or a class on the lawn of Thomas Edison's Menlo Park? So we've got a very unusual campus that's very inspiring, not only to our own Henry Ford Academy students, but we get over 200,000 school children a year that come through our campus on field trips.
Wow.
And we want to see more of that.
Okay, so Spence, like, as you know, this is a Farm to School podcast, and we like to have this podcast to get the word out to people about teaching children about where their food comes. So that was my question when Michelle introduced me to you both, was how does the Henry Ford fit into this Farm to School thing as the whole picture? So can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think it's important to maybe roll back the clock a little bit and go back in time, give you a little perspective before we kind of launch into what Farm to School Lunch Across America is and how we got into it. So, our founder, Henry Ford, was rooted in agriculture. He had 1 foot in agriculture, 1 foot in industry. And so we've always been about agriculture at the Henry Ford. But it wasn't until 2003 when the Henry Ford rescued the original vegetable shed of the Detroit Central Market, one of the oldest urban farmers markets in the country, that we really, really, I would say really our edible education journey really began. So in 2003, we rescued this market. We were able to rescue 80% of the structure. And we got a generous planning grant to take the structure carefully apart and put it in storage. And we had plans to bring it back to life in the central part of our outdoor complex, Greenfield Village. It's important to understand that everything we do, new exhibits, acquisitions, programs, we have to raise the money first before we can bring those structures or programs back to life. So in the 2000s and the aughts, and we get into 2008 with the economic downturn, other funding priorities, quite frankly, the support for the market just was not there. and it's where it stayed in storage. Fast forward to 2019, and we began to reimagine what that market could be. That market could be a place for convening. It could be a place to have important conversations and educational programs around food, agriculture, and the environment, the slow food movement, the connection to food, to agriculture and the environment. And donors began to understand that and see the importance of that. And we got a wonderful challenge grant. And so by the end of 2019, we were close to raising the funds we needed to bring the market back to life. And we had 2 volunteers who said, look, we're going to help you finish raising the rest of the funds you need to bring this market to life. And we're going to host a farm to table fundraising dinner for you in the spring of 2020. We said, Christy and I said, wow, that's
kind
great.
of a bummer.
That's great. That sounds like a great plan.
Tables 6 feet apart.
We all know what happened, right? We know what happened. March of 2020, the world shuts down. We closed our doors for several months, and we really, Christy and I were kind of scratching our heads, thinking, okay, we have a challenge grant on the line. How are we going to bring this market back to life? And we went back to our volunteers and we said, let's try a farm to front door dinner fundraiser. And that was before anyone was doing virtual fundraising. And what ended up happening is we ended up meeting a whole host of new people, philanthropists, advocates, people thinking about the connection of food and health and the environment, locked away, on Zoom cameras.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, we decided here's an opportunity to create an entire society dedicated to food, agricultural, and environmental education at the Henry Ford. And let's use this opportunity to honor 2 pioneers in this movement. George Washington Carver. By the way, we have George Washington Carver's cabin on our campus.
Oh, my gosh.
And Rachel Carson.
Yes.
And so we created the Carver Carson Society. So this group had a goal. They surpassed their fundraising goal by 3 times, threefold. And by August of that year, we had more than enough funds to bring the market back to life. But we also had an opportunity to really double down on this idea of edible education. And where could the Henry Ford be as a museum, as an educational institution, to really connect the dots for people to what that connective tissue is around food, agriculture, and the environment. And so fast forward to 2023, the market has been built. It is at the center of Greenfield Village. We're under the stars. We have a stage. We have our inaugural Carver Carson awardee, Alice Waters. We have environmental activist Jane Fonda and historian Douglas Brinkley on stage having a conversation about school-supported agriculture and how food, one plate at a time, can support a local economy. It can support good food, can support better health for the students. And there's a connecting point of addressing climate change by working with regenerative farmers, supporting that school meal. So at that event, we said, look, we're going to start here at home with our own school, Henry Ford Academy. We're going to make a commitment to self-fund this, raise an endowment to fund this school lunch so that every school child that comes through our campus now and forever will have access to a scratch-cooked, locally sourced, in-season meal, and possibly working with regenerative farmers. We're on that journey. We're not there yet, but we're working on it. And we're going to make that meal free for all students forever. And it wouldn't matter who, was in charge in Lansing And what was, because right now Michiganders get free lunch and free breakfast, and that's a good thing. But we wanted to make sure that this kind of school lunch would be accessible forever. And so we wanted to endow the program. But we said, you know what, I think we can use this platform to do more, because we know there's good work going on around the country around farm to school. And so, but we hear of communities just not doing it or not knowing how to do it. And so could we create an experience during National Farm to School Month where we're able to go into schools and highlight and tell the story of what's working in this school supported agriculture space. So we launched something called Farm to School Lunch Across America. And that's where, Christy, I think you could probably talk about what we did last year and where we're going.
I would love to. Michelle, Rick, did you want to ask a question, or do you just want me to kind of launch into it?
I would. There was so much to unpack with Spence when he talked, and we were writing furiously when he was doing that, and for sure I want to get to Christy, but I did want to say like a few things that resonated with me, like you said, like we try to. And I'll paraphrase what you said, but saying the message of what farm to school and people don't get what it is. And it's like, welcome to our world. That's why we created this podcast. And it sounds to me that a place for innovation to showcase that at your place. Michelle and I are always about, like, what haven't we done yet with Farm to School? We created videos. We created a podcast. We started getting people like we also talked to Alice Waters a couple months ago at the risk of being a name dropper and stuff. So getting people on to tell the story about Farm to School. And so I love the idea of like having a place. It's something new that hasn't done, like a place for innovation for Farm to School and like a museum, like you were saying. I heard that word, but yes. And Michelle, do you have any?
I was just going to say, I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that, we were scratching our heads a little bit. Christy, you and I were talking about this the other day. That, we have this incredible kitchen cabinet of advisors, Michelle, and we're grateful you're one of them. But, we get around the table with some of these amazing people and amazing organizations and say, why are people coming together? We're just, we're the Henry Ford here in Dearborn, Michigan. Why are all of these institutions and these great people that are doing this work that are actually the experts in the space, why are they coming to the table? And one of our advisors said, I think it's because you're a museum. It's unexpected.
Yes.
No one expects a museum to be in this space. This kind of isn't your lane, but the fact that you're convening and that we, at our core, we're storytellers, that all of a sudden now we have a venue and a platform where those listening and you, Michelle, that are doing this work, well, now we have an interesting platform that is neutral, that's a place of learning that is unexpected. So maybe we can help kind of cut out the noise that maybe might distract some of the conversations and whatever it takes, because we think the work is so important. But it certainly is mission fit for us. And so if this is unexpected that a museum would be doing this, all the better.
Well, and thank you for putting in that context. One of the many reasons I joyfully accepted your offer to join the kitchen cabinet was that, hearing a museum, the Henry Ford, take this on, I remember when we were in rooms in meeting places around the country arguing over what does farm to school mean? It's before the USDA existed. It's before we had state agencies that had positions and different things. And here's this, the epitome of innovation talking about farm to school too. It was so validating and encouraging. I was just like, oh my gosh, what could we do with this? Where is this going? So thank you both.
Oh, that's so nice to hear.
Thank you.
And then Christy, I'm so curious, so now farm to school across America, what does that mean?
I know. And wonderful question, Michelle. I'm happy to elaborate.
I'm picturing the Oscar Mayer Wiener bus, but like a giant cornucopia, like a giant school lunch tray, going around America.
Yeah, wonderful visual. Not what we're quite doing. But would attract attention, which we love, right? Because we want all the attention we can get around this way of really leaning into school-supported agriculture. I do want to just add just a little bit of color to what Spence was saying about us getting involved in this initiative. We have a charter high school on our campus that Spence mentioned, and it's 9th through 12th grade. And our employees in our employee dining room eat lunch with the 9th graders. So rewind back to, 2022, before we really got into this space, we were eating lunch and seeing what the students were eating every day, and a lot of it is prepackaged and ultra processed. And, that to us was really a driving factor and a motivator to reimagine our school lunch, because these kids, we have to advocate for them. And so really that became a really important and driving cause for us to move this initiative forward. So us going into reimagining our school lunch program, we needed to do research. And so, as a museum, we would lean out to subject matter experts and industry experts, and people just started connecting us with other fantastic organizations doing work in this space. And truly, it was inspiring to be on phone calls and learn what other places across the country were doing in farm to school lunch and also school supported agriculture. So I think we were in a unique position at that time as we were moving our own school lunch program forward. We kind of paused and were like, there's something here. There's all these places, these people, these organizations doing really cool work in this space where traditionally, I'm a mom of 3. I've got 3 kiddos. They go to public school. And I see what they're being fed, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you talk about school lunch, it's just got such a negative connotation. Immediately, people are like, oh, it's awful, right? And so...
Again, welcome to our world. I was a food service director for 32 years, so...
And thank you guys for the work you do. I know Spence and I are probably going to say that multiple times over the course of this recording and podcast, but truly, it's you guys who have, started this movement, and we're just really trying to help advocate and storytell around it.
Well, but it's true. There's truth to what you're saying. It can be like that, but it doesn't have to be. And there's plenty of examples we like to share with people that, oh my gosh, there's so many people that are doing such fabulous work. Go eat a school lunch with your kid, your grandkid, or whatever, and discover it, but continue, please.
Oh, no, absolutely. You're 100% right. It's until you're in the classroom or the lunchroom or whatever, and you see what these students are eating. It's easy to put it out of your mind, right? Here in Michigan, it's free. That doesn't mean it's the best. And so we really are leaning into, with this Farm to School Lunch Across America program, we want to lean into shining a light, being a cheerleader, really highlighting those schools that are doing work in this space, and they're doing it right, and they're doing it well, and they're doing it within, the USDA guidelines and funding and all of that. And so in 2024, we had an opportunity with our partner, Ford Philanthropy, who's our funder for our pilot program, to launch this initiative that we're calling Farm to School Lunch Across America. And what we ended up doing was we literally did go across America, but with the partners that we met and the schools that were doing really unique and fantastic work in the school-supported agriculture space, we went into those communities and schools, and we executed what we were calling, or what we call, impact experiences. And we partnered with local chefs. Some were celebrities, which was really cool. I mean, to name drop, I'm going to piggyback off of what you guys said earlier. We partnered with celebrities to really bring attention to the schools. We had Chef Rick Bayless and Chef Paul Kahan in the Chicagoland area as partners. We went to 2 schools in the Chicagoland area. And when we were in these schools, we were doing cooking demonstrations and school assemblies to really advocate not only for farm to school and highlight the work the schools were doing, but also, I mean, we can talk about making sure that we get, the right food on those lunch trays with students, but we also want the students to understand why they're being fed that meal. And so, as Spence mentioned earlier, we are an education institute at the Henry Ford at our core. And so really making sure that we could teach the students where their food came from and why, and then not only having an opportunity for them to be introduced to a really cool chef, but also introducing them to the farmers that grow the food and how, from start to finish, it's this full cycle moment so that it's really impactful for them. And so when they go home, they can share that with their families. And then as a part of our program, we went one step further. I love to throw a party. So we did community events after. I know, who doesn't love a party? But we did after school community events to invite the community in, those grandparents, those parents, the caregivers that are feeding the students outside of school. Because as I mentioned, I'm a parent. My kids can learn 1,000 things at school throughout the day. If I don't know what they're learning and I can't reinforce it at home, then it's on them to continue to move that way of thinking forward. And so we just thought it was important not only to educate the students, but to share resources with their family members as well.
I love that.
And I'm going to pause.
No problem. So Christy, bear with me here. I'm a genie now, and I'm going to grant you a wish. Anything you want.
Okay.
Money is not an object. And you just, the only catch is it has to deal with the Henry Ford. And what could you do to move this what would you see it going to in the future if money was no object or whatever? What would you think would be the ultimate end for this?
Such a big question. And now I got to think for it. Let me pause and think about my answer, because
no problem.
There's a lot of ways I could answer this. If you're a genie and I could have anything I want, I would want farm to school lunch in every classroom, in every school across the United States. I would want it to not be an issue, right? To get kids this way of eating. School-supported agriculture is such a fantastic way not to make sure that students are getting the right food in their body, but also it's great for the economy. It's great for our local farmers. It's great for, all the way around. It's wonderful for the environment when we're sourcing from regenerative farmers. So it's a win-win, but it's tough because it would be great to have also. I can ask for anything, right?
Right.
I would love for schools that don't have kitchens to have them, because that's a huge challenge or roadblock with a lot of when we talk to people and they'll say, oh, well, we only have a microwave in our school and we can't do this because it's difficult. It's really like, I would love to remove all those barriers and just open up the possibility to really move this initiative forward. I don't know, Spence, do you have any answer?
I would say, if resources were no issue and the sky's the limit, that we could build this initiative in such a way where we could fan out across the country and show communities what's possible and let communities decide on their own if they They may like what they're doing and may not need change or want change, but they may see what's happening in Dearborn, Michigan, or Richmond, California, or Minneapolis, Minnesota, or Portland, Oregon, and say, I'd like a little bit of what they're doing, and maybe I'd like a little bit of what's going over here, but I don't know where to start. My community doesn't know where to start, and my school superintendent doesn't know where to start. My food service director and my, and I have a regenerative farmer in Kansas who wants to figure out how to keep their farm sustainable and moving forward, but doesn't know how to get on that procurement list so that the idea of a school lunch budget could keep that farm going. If I could blue sky it, we would have the resource tools, the availability, the educational resources to connect all of those communities and all of those people and all of those different players together to say, here's how you do it. Here are the resources to do it. And if you want to do it for your own community, for your own school, for your own students, we're here to help you make that happen. And it would be a connected through line for anyone that wanted to be part of that process. And at the end of the day, we would be addressing food insecurity, making sure that every school child in America has access to the best food, the best ingredients, and those local dollars going right back into their local communities, supporting those local farmers and local food producers. And that, by the way, those added incentives, if they're regenerative farmers, they're taking care of the land. So we're addressing climate change one school meal at a time. That's a lot, but since the sky's the limit and the genie's giving me a wish, that would be my wish.
I feel like you're making so many of those dreams come true already, Spence.
I think you're on your way. So,
That's so you guys are so nice.
well, you have to have a goal, like you said, right? And that's
right. Goals are important.
It will not happen unless you articulate it. Genie or no genie, you just have to. The goal is the first step.
Well, and you two just launched a huge dream. Tell us about the documentary and the trailer that we'll link to. What's going on?
Yes. So thank you for bringing that up, Michelle, and giving us a chance to talk about that. We, as part of our journey last year, and when we piloted this program in October 2024, we visited 7 communities that are doing farm to school in cool and unique ways. They're all kind of like a thumbprint. They're all different. And so to Spence's point, there's really no one size fits all. What works in Chicago may not work in California. Obviously, we're in Michigan and we have a very different growing season than California. But there are schools right here in our own backyard that are doing farm to school. And we were in California last year and they're doing farm to school. So all that to be said, we worked with this fantastic documentary crew last October. And they followed us around to all of these schools from right here in our backyard in southeastern Michigan to Chicago to Minneapolis and then out to some communities in Northern California. And we met with all the people that are involved in making that farm to school supported agriculture magic happen. And we filmed it. And we thought we were a little naive. We thought, we'll make this some snackable content that we'll put on YouTube and it'll be great. Maybe like 5 short little episodes. Well, we didn't know what we were getting into in a good way because we collected such beautiful, rich content that there was no way we could pare it down. So what we did end up doing was taking a little bit more time, and we now have a 45-minute documentary on our journey around farm to school. Yeah, I know. I'm so excited if you can't hear it in my voice. It's been a long time coming, but I get really excited. But so we're premiering our doc at the end of this month. at the Henry Ford on our campus.
Which
and then as a part of
it's
our
October 2025, National Farm to School Month. You are launching the documentary. Amazing.
We are. I know. So we are kicking things off for our phase year 2 of Farm to School Lunch Across America. And we are starting things with premiering our doc at the end of October 2025. And then we are going to take the doc on the road. And we are, in addition to doing some new impact experiences and collecting stories in new communities about the work they're doing, we're also going to screen that doc rather in our participant areas from last year. So in Chicago, Minneapolis, Northern California. And then we're going to host panel discussions, and it's going to be free. We're going to invite the community in, and we are going to show the doc and then have a panel discussion with industry experts to really continue to advocate for this way of thinking and this idea that we can really make change by activating people who are passionate to see the change happen.
Well, cool. I like how you opened up that whole discussion with, you said what would work in California doesn't necessarily work in Michigan. And you could also say what works in Detroit or Lansing doesn't, might not work in the Upper Peninsula or very remote areas. Right. We get that a lot,
You're right.
Those tiny schools make up most of our state. And they're like, we have an eastern part of our state, Eastern Oregon, that's high desert. And it's really not on the distribution lines for a lot of things. And it's hard for them to get local food unless they're resilient and know how to find it. So I just wanted to throw that little wrinkle in there. It's like there's so many people, and I've used the analogy before. Sometimes the cook is also the food service director and the janitor and the superintendent in one school, sometimes. So yeah,
the Jack or Jane of all trades.
Yes, it can be tough.
And coach.
Yeah. Right.
I think that's an important point when we think about how this program has been successful and how I think it's going to be successful going forward. Our approach has never been to say, well, this community over here is doing it right, and this community over here is not doing it right.
That's important.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's been to say, hey, this is what's going on. We're just sharing what's happening.
Best practices.
You might see something over here that you want, or you may say, look, I don't want a school supported agriculture in my area. I think our school lunch is just fine in our community, and that's fine too. But we think if communities, one community at a time, and that's why we really want to democratize this documentary and take it not only into the communities that we were in, but into new communities, to say, hey, this is a conversation starter. This is the beginning of something. We're going to be on the road with this and having these conversations in communities across the country for years to come. But our hope is that each community will look at their own needs and their own values and say, there are things that may be working over here that we'd like to apply in our own community. And we didn't know that. We didn't know what was possible until we were introduced to that by Farm to School Lunch Across America.
Okay.
That to me, if that happens, we've done our job.
Yeah.
Okay, I see a question coming from Michelle. Hang on here.
Well, that was such a powerful ending. Rick and I were like, should we wrap it up? Should we just cue
like
to
drop?
cue to the inspo?
Was very good.
It was very good. Cue to the inspo music. But I did want to ask, is there anything else you wanted to say on this?
This is a good episode, by the way, guys. This is it's like your kids. Your last one is always your favorite episode, anyway. So, yeah, this is a good.
That's a good way to put it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'll send you the sign. Rick on his sign literally says, "This is good."
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to send you a picture.
We like that. We're glad we're not getting that. This is bad stuff.
Yeah.
Down.
Who are these guys? Who invited them? No, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
But is there anything?
No, thank you guys, Spence.
Yeah.
I think I think you guys, first of all, again, thank you for the opportunity to have this platform to talk about the work we're doing. And thank you for the work you guys are doing for the past 20 plus years. I mean, we wouldn't be here if not for trailblazers like you. And I'm not just saying that so you make us appear really good on this podcast. But I think
we'll Photoshop your headshot.
Photoshop
even
my
better.
voice.
Yeah. Okay.
Spence, I think we touched on everything. Okay. And Michelle, I really appreciate you mentioning the doc.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'll be fun.
You know, I think I would just add, you know, everything we do takes partners, and this whole program that we launched with, you know, initial seed funding, grant support from Ford Philanthropy. And again, we have to go for support for grants to corporate partners, foundations, philanthropists, just like any other nonprofit. But for this program to be sustainable in the future, you know, we need to grow our support. And so if, you know, people want to be part of this, if they want to be part of the Henry Ford, you know, it takes a community. It takes a community of philanthropists and generous partners to help power this work. And I say that also because a number of our kitchen cabinet partners are nonprofits themselves. And what really brings joy to us is to see through this movement other nonprofits in this space meeting other funders that can help advance and power their work. And we want to see more of that.
It really is strengthening the ecosystem of Farm to School and the webs that connect us.
Yep. Thanks for that. That's a good tie-in for everything we've talked about today. Thanks.
I really appreciate Spence and Christy, you two making the time to come talk to us this afternoon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, totally. And we really thank you all for listening today. Farm to School was written, directed, and produced by Rick Sherman and Michelle Markiston with production support from Leanne Lochner of Oregon State University and was made possible by a grant from the United States Department of Agriculture.
The content and ideas of the Farm to School podcast does not necessarily reflect the opinions of Oregon State University or the United States Department of Agriculture. The USDA, Oregon State University are equal opportunity providers and employers.
Do you want to learn more about Farm to School? Who doesn't? Check out our other episodes, show notes, and we'll have a link to the Henry Ford trailer about Farm to School Lunch Across America and so much more by Googling up Farm to School Podcast, Oregon State University.
Yeah, we would love to hear from you. Stop by the website Michelle just mentioned and say hello or give us an idea for a future podcast. And we'd love to see you, hear you. You can hear us.
I want to see everybody. I want to see Spence and Christy.
All right.
We're going to see you in Michigan. Thank you both so much.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Spence and Christy.